morning, everyone. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Calling the roll for the Monday, June 5th, 2023 Board of Control meeting. It is 11:02 a.m. We have Councilmember Meredith Turner.
Here.
We have Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Dale Miller.
Here.
We have James Boyle serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones Jr.
Present.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Ronay, County Executive.
Here.
Mike Chambers serving as Fiscal Officer as Chairman.
Here.
Paul Porter. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 30th. I will make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment?
Okay, let's go to our first item.
First item, BC 2023-357, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on RQ 11627 and enter into a purchase order with Nature's Alpine Solutions LLC and the amount not to exceed $119,416 for the purchase of liquid de-icing solutions for the county airport for the period of June 5th, 2023 through June 4th, 2025.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This first item is we're looking to have a purchase order awarded to Nature's Alpine. It's for the runway de-icer for the county airport. So we did do a formal bid process and went to 11 vendors. We had 2 vendors submit a bid. Only one provided a price. This is a smaller market, smaller commodity market, but we're making the award to Nature's Alpine. And I know there's a pre-question. The price is aligned with what we're currently paying for this first year with a slight markup for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Tom. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-358, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to River City Furniture LLC, DBA RCF Group, in the amount not to exceed $26,846.57 for a state contract purchase and installation of 12 workstations at the Virgil E. Brown Building and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a recommended state contract, state term contract purchase for an alteration for Virgil Brown Child Support Services area. This converts 12 existing cubicles into 6 client and client services transaction windows. So that's what the 12 is, a client side and the staff side. But it takes 12 cubicles, converts it to 6 client services areas. Agency-funded project. Happy to answer your questions.
Well, thank you, Matt. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-359, correcting to read the time period, Department of Public Works submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Downtown Cleveland Alliance and the amount not to exceed $55,000 for event coordination, staging, and supplies for the Veterans Memorial Bridge event being held June 23, 2023 through June 24, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Nicole English with Public Works. So we're presenting the RFP exemption to work with Downtown Cleveland Alliance again, as we did in the past for the last 2 bridge tours. They've kind of coordinated all the efforts needed to pull it off, as far as vendors and just everything, stages, sound, that kind of thing. Also, they're coordinating the Friday night. It's consisting of 2 things. One is Friday night, which is more of a community engagement conversation to talk about the future of the bridge. And so they will, with the Urban Design Center, Kent State's Urban Design Center, will kind of run that facilitation and then also document the results and give us that information going forward. So this is a not to exceed $55,000. It will be billed on an as-used basis. And I think I sent along the press release that had kind of what other activities are taking place the Friday night and the Saturday all day. So this is the long-awaited bridge tour that everybody looks forward to. ODOT's had the bridge closed the last couple years and COVID, which is why we haven't done it. So tell your friends, come out,
Are we invited?
join us. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. English. Is there any questions from the board? Mr. Boyle, please.
So what did we, I guess we've used them in the past, right, for the previous
have.
bridge tours? are the amounts that we're paying comparable?
It's a little more because we're asking them to give us a little more service, but also the money for CUDC is included in the Downtown Cleveland Alliance piece, where the last time there was that art installation, if anybody remembers being out there with squid soup, and so the CUDC part was paid out of the art fund that came right from the foundation. So this is now being wrapped into the DCA part, which is why this amount is higher than in the past.
What was it in the past? Just, I mean, was it?
I want to say it was a not to exceed 20,000, 17,000, something, 18,000.
And then one of the things, when you mentioned what is the future of the bridge, I mean, I assume you're referring to the underpiece, not the bridge itself. Correct?
Both, actually. I think we're going to look at how you improve transportation across the bridge in general. So also looking at what that lane use is on top, and how it connects on the top and on the underside, and then how it connects with all the new pieces that are happening around the neighborhood. So Irishtown Bend, the Bridgeworks development on the west side, and then on the east side, how it connects to Canal Basin Park, how it connects to Public Square, kind of an overall look.
And I'm cautiously optimistic that when DCA is talking about the future of the bridge, they're talking about they're taking your, okay,
Yes,
they're, the future of the bridge is not their idea.
No,
right?
no, no.
The county.
The county executives, yes,
Fantastic.
exactly. They're just kind of facilitating the conversation and documenting it.
Willing to listen to other people talk about our bridge, but I want, in terms of what's gonna happen with the bridge, I wanna make sure that that's coming from the county's mouthpiece.
Correct.
Ms. Ross, please.
Yes, I just have a quick question. I believe the previous event allowed county staff to volunteer for the
Oh.
bridge, if I'm
Yes.
remembering correctly. Are you still going to utilize
Yes.
that?
So HR sent an email, and we're still needing volunteers. I think we had a deadline of last week, but we still have a need for volunteers on Saturday, so non-bargaining staff can sign up. Sheila is the contact in our office, Sheila Obrecky. It's on the email if anybody has seen it. So sign up, you'll get a T-shirt, you'll get to work all day. It's lots of fun.
Mr. Boyle, we could use you.
Well, giving back is not my forte. That's really
Clearly.
not where
He's honest.
I've angled my county career in the 3 decades. But maybe for an exception for this.
Thank you. Any final questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next, item BC 2023-360, Department of Equity and Inclusion, submitting an amendment to a contract with Cuyahoga Community College for diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant services for the period February 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $42,575.
My name is Jennifer Wilson. I am here in Director Lenore Lockett's absence. We, Department of Equity and Inclusion, are requesting authority to amend contract with selected vendor Tri-C through RFP implemented last year, looking to provide continuity to further diversity and inclusion. The terms consulting services is general terminology to describe the scope of work components detailed in the contract amendment and reinstated in the briefing memo. Some of those services include a redesigned town hall series and a train the trainer services. It's designed to train the Department of Equity and Inclusion employees as well as Human Resources Training Department to catch any employees in 2024 and ongoing who may have missed the services in 2023.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item?
Yes. Could I ask how many employees have been trained on the previous contract to date?
Yes. 9,100.
Are there any additional questions?
Just a quick question. You mentioned a redesign of the town hall series. Is that standard, or is it because of the feedback that you received from the previous training?
Because of the feedback, they're going to make it a little bit shorter. It's not going to be the 3 town halls. It's going to be condensed into 1.
Thank you.
Good. Any final questions? Board members, I hate to admit I did make a mistake. I want to go back to the last item and make a motion to approve as amended for that time change. It's not often. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Porter. All in favor to approve item number 359 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That item's approved as amended. Now on this particular item, I'm going to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. English. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-361, Department of Information Technology submitting an amendment to a contract with Timothy Wahop for Enterprise Resource Planning System Support Services for the period March 22nd, 2021 through April 29, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $72,779.73.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is an amendment for the ERP consultant. It'll take us out to the end of the year.
Okay, Dennis, are there questions from the board? Mr. Boyle, please.
And again, I'm not faulting anybody, but I mean, I look at the succession planning aspects of the county and see that there are what I'd say are significant issues that need to be addressed. And I look at the last the last sentence of the response to the preliminary questions. Unless a suitable candidate is located, we may have to renew his contract next year, which, I mean, I think is the right answer. I mean, you're being honest about where we are.
This is the author of the response.
Yeah, so where are we? I mean, what's going on with retaining people, keeping people?
Sure. Robert Knoll, I don't know if I have to announce. So we have active positions open for the ERP. This is a technical position, so these are people who are extremely skilled in developing interfaces and setting up security and setting up configurations in the system. So we have actively tried to hire this position now for several years. And we've had some candidates, we've brought them in, they just haven't worked out. So the reason we have Tim, the reason we're attempting to amend is because he was here originally when we actually set the system up. So he has a lot of knowledge on our processes in the county, along with our configuration and the way the system is set up. So we are actively trying to pursue that. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to find people that have that skill set. We've tried to bring in some individuals who haven't, and we've tried to train them. Some have worked and some haven't. So it's unfortunate. This area is very difficult to staff anyways, and when we're looking for people who understand this system, it actually makes it more difficult for us.
Tim was a former employee, correct?
Tim was a consultant with Cyber and then with Infor.
Okay.
He then left Infor and went to his own consulting group, and then we were lucky enough to actually get him as a contractor directly with us.
Lucky we are. All right. Okay.
Okay, are there any additional questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-362, Sheriff's Department recommending an award and enter into a purchase order with Geauga County Sheriff's Department in the amount not to exceed $175,000 for outsourcing prisoner board and care services to reduce the daily population in the Geauga County Jail for the period of June 5th, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. We are requesting an award to Geauga County for a not to exceed purchase order for $175. This is for inmate prisoner board and care services with a per diem rate of $75 a day.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item?
The rate is fantastic. I mean, I'm happy now based on the notes that you've given. I know we used to send inmates to, I think, Seneca County maybe a long time ago. Does that sound right? It's nice to know that we're only using contiguous one if it's Geauga and Lake. But the rate in Geauga County is really good. So congrats to you guys for that.
Okay, does anyone else have any follow-up questions? No, seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-363, Sheriff's Department recommending an award and enter into a contract with Inspired Health and Wellness, DBA Christine Phillips, and the amount not to exceed $24,000 for individual health and wellness coaching and wellness activities for law enforcement and their families in connection with the fiscal year 2022 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act, effective upon signatures of all parties through August 31st, 2024.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department again. We are requesting an award to Inspired Health and Wellness, also known as Christine Phillips, for not to exceed contract in the amount of $24,000. This contract will be funded through our fiscal year 22 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Grant. As you may recall, a couple weeks ago, we came forward with this grant. These funds are to be used to improve the delivery of and access to mental health and wellness services for law enforcement through the implementation of peer support, training, family resources, suicide prevention, and other practices of wellness programs. Some services that Dr. Phillips will offer is individual health and wellness counseling, couples, family wellness activities, and group wellness activities.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Are there questions from the board?
I have one. Will these services be mandated, or are they just available resources to the?
They're just going to be available to our law enforcement.
Any final questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Boy, that was a tie. We'll second it by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-364, Sheriff's Department recommending an award and enter into a contract with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons Incorporated, DBA Frontline Service, and the amount not to exceed $33,350 for specialized counseling services and training for law enforcement in connection with the fiscal year 2022 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act, effective upon signatures of all parties through August 31st, 2024.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. Again, we're requesting an award to Frontline Services with not to exceed contract $33,350. This will be funded through our Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Grant as the previous item. I do have a representative from Frontline to present. Her name is Kimberly.
Morning. I'm Kim Kiley with Frontline Service. We will be offering services for law enforcement as well as their family members, addressing trauma exposure stress, which is indirect trauma exposure as well as direct trauma exposure. So when I say direct trauma exposure, either witnessing or being a victim of trauma exposures, for example, being assaulted on the job, versus indirect trauma exposure, for example, hearing witness testimony or taking police reports. And we will be offering trainings as well as law enforcement resiliency groups as well as individual counseling. And then we will offer trainings as well as resiliency groups and family retreat days for spouses and family members.
So, Chris, is this for COs too? Is this for everybody in the Sheriff's Department? I forgot to ask that.
No, this is just for law enforcement.
Just for law enforcement.
The grant is specific for law
Okay,
enforcement.
I got you. Thank you. Are there questions from the board?
Just, if I may briefly, that it's not really a question, I guess, for either the vendor or for the Sheriff's Department, but both this matter and the one before, in the preliminary questions, there were inquiries about the number of vendors and the lack of responses. And when you send off on 363, we sent out 65 bid packages, only got one response. And then on this one, we sent out 136 bid packages, only received one bid. And obviously, these are important things. You know, these folks that endure trauma or see trauma or have to deal with that in their day-to-day operations. I mean, I'm just looking at this, whatever's going on with our system in terms of Infor is clearly not working to get vendors to either see, observe, note that this informal bid is out there. And so, Paul, to your team, I mean, the 136 with one, I mean, that's less than 1%. And I mean, there's got to be some better way to do this.
Sure, I get it. Because these were informals, the department puts them into Infor and the system automatically notifies whatever vendors are registered for that commodity code. There are a couple of different places where there could be problems. For instance, a vendor might put, a broad range of commodity codes and they might not deliver all the services. Or the vendor might have registered when we first rolled out the system, and the person whose email was listed is no longer employed by the vendor. We can't necessarily update that. It would be incumbent upon the vendor to update that in the system. So those are probably the two biggest areas. I would say it's less of a concern about vendors don't get notice, because the system does work if they're getting notice at a valid email address. I would say it's more vendors being registered for services they don't actually provide.
No,
if that
and I get
helps.
that, and I don't dispute that fact, and I think that those are valid points, Paul, and I don't fault the system in that aspect. It's just, the bid itself may be labeled as informal, but the work that needs to be performed under it is very important. And to that extent, you know, when you're 1 for 136, it tells me that it's really looking as that there's just whatever the system is doing is not functioning on behalf of this bid. I mean, it's just, I understand, it's just something, if there's a tweak that you can come up with, perhaps that's something you can look at.
Absolutely. Thanks for the feedback.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, then I will make the motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-365, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Agilent Technologies in the amount not to exceed $9,005.39 for a joint cooperative purchase of 2 oil mist filters, 4 oil mist filter threads, 10 linear splintless, and 3 ultra inert for the gas chromatography.
Chromatograph. You're close.
Yeah, I had it earlier, now I can't say it. System in the Drug Chemistry Department, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. Obviously, we have issues with oil mist filters. The GCMS system in drug chemistry links together multiple chromatographs, and so this is equipment that will maintain that system.
Okay, Hugh, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Turner. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-366, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, submitting an amendment to an agreement with Cuyahoga County Department of Workforce Development for job readiness and training for recipients of temporary assistance for needy families and food assistance employment and training services for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $303,469.52.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Jobs and Family Services. Again, this is an amendment to an interagency agreement with Ohio Means Jobs Workforce Development for programs and services, including education, occupational training, job match, and job search assistance related to the comprehensive case management and education programs and the food assistance and education and training programs. Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services is mandated partner of Ohio Means Jobs, which operates these one-stop centers.
Thank you, Marcos. Are there questions from the board?
I have one.
Please.
Marcos, I was just curious, there's been, or at least I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe there's been a recent change with Ohio. Okay, good. Does that have any effect on this contract now that they may be moving to, and if I'm saying this correctly, privatization?
Yeah, I believe the board voted recently to become a nonprofit. I don't believe it's been approved yet. Yeah, we're not sure of what's going to happen in the future. That's why we amended this partly because of that, instead of doing a new contract. So we'll see, hopefully, you know, what happens in the next few months related to these, to the funding going from us to them.
Seeing no further questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Moving on to consent agenda items, BC 2023-367 through 2023-368.
Okay, board members, if there's any items that you have questions on, please let us know. All right, seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. English. Is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Today's consent agenda items as listed are approved. Moving on to other business.
Yes, we have one item under other business, time-sensitive, mission-critical, BC 2023-369. Department of Public Works recommended an award to RJ Stacy Limited in the amount not to exceed $24,885 for emergency repair of the galvanized domestic water service line from the Courts Tower to Jail 1 at the Justice Center.
Hi, good morning. Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a time-sensitive, mission-critical repair request with RJ Stacy for, as described, contribution to the urgent domestic water service line replacement for a section that feeds the court tower over to Jail 1. This was an inspected line. It's an original galvanized service line, 5 inches in diameter, that is one of the main feeds over to Jail 1. We don't have any isolation valves in that particular location that would allow us to take this, replace this section of line and still maintain water at the Courts Tower and Jail 1. The entire Courts Tower would come down in addition to Jail 1. So this service provides a hot tap onto the existing active line, and then it will result in an isolation valve installation. That'll allow us then to isolate this from the Courts Tower and internally perform the line replacement. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Matt. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. No other business?
No other business?
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Nicole English. All in favor to adjourn, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.